Welcome to But Frankly Pierce News. I'm Arthur Fairview. Here's what we are facing.
I question whether he realizes exactly what episode this is.
I was pondering that question as well.
What? The answer to that is clearly episode 42.
There are a couple of mice here asking for Arthur.
Did you say mice?
As you know, we've spent a lot of time on your planet looking for this ultimate question, only to have it blow up in our faces.
Uh-huh.
Literally.
Okay.
We need the ultimate question, or at least one that sounds ultimate.
Of course.
And now all we need is the missing piece of the puzzle.
Okay, and that is...
Which happens to be your brain.
Right. What? Sorry? Did you just say you need my brain?
Yes, to complete the program.
Can't have my brain. I'm using it.
That's debatable.
Don't help.
Lord, what was in that food?
Don't worry, you won't feel a thing.
Well, what about 6 times 7? Or how many Vogons does it take to change a light bulb? Here's one. How many roads must a man walk down?
Hey, that's not bad.
Okay, then. Now the news. Bureaucracy. It tends to slow things down, especially when related to governments. This slowdown can be out of necessity. We don't want one person making all the decisions for everyone, right? But when people purposely take advantage of that slowdown, well, that's just not good.
The bureaucratic mentality is the only constant in the universe.
If we accept that as truth, we can make a supposition that failed former President Donald Trump has been using the same mentality to stifle, slow down, and litigiously dodge anything thrown at him. However, it is beginning to look like, dare I say, that the wall of his is starting to show cracks.
Vogons are one of the most unpleasant races in the galaxy. Not evil, but bad-tempered, bureaucratic, officious, and callous. They wouldn't even lift a finger to save their own grandmothers from the ravenous bug-bladder beast of Traal without orders, signed in triplicate, sent in, sent back, queried, lost, found, subjected to public inquiry, lost again, and finally buried in soft peat for 3 months and recycled as firelighters.
One can hope.
I thought the only constant in the universe is the stupidity of people.
You're not wrong there.
If I may continue. Senator Ben Sasse, Republican from Nebraska, led into the weirdos that he said are tearing the United States apart in a fiery speech at the Reagan Foundation that connected the political debates of the last few years with the global threats facing the nation. Sasse ripped into the performance artists,
Like 45?
who have dominated politics for close to a decade, saying they're more focused on getting likes and retweets for themselves on social media than on preserving the United States standing as a global superpower.
Because we're facing not just dysfunctional government, but also endless fuel from rage peddlers who want this dysfunction and who lust only for performative shouting. Right now, we have a government of the weirdos, by the weirdos, and for the weirdos. Most real people are tuning out, regrettably but understandably, and they're letting the very online, very angry dominate our politics. Our politicians now consistently act like jackwagons, and they do it for a reason. It's because they're primarily just performing for other jackwagons.
Sasse, a former university president who was often chided through the Trump administration for failing to pick a clear side in the many battles that continue to surround the failed former president, said that while jackwagon politicians and isolationists increase the intensity of their stunts, the U.S. is still falling behind as a global superpower.
And when did that falling behind start?
Oh, round about January 20th, 2017.
Sasse spoke at the Reagan Foundation's A Time for Choosing speaker series, which has featured a wide array of Republicans eyeing runs for the White House in 2024, but notably not including failed former President Donald Trump.
Now that's telling.
A series of recent primaries have sometimes shown Trump with an iron grip on the extremes of the GOP, but also unable to command that base of voters in the way that he did when he was in the White House.
Again, one can hope.
Adding to the ever-growing list, a Trump campaign staffer instructed a group of Republicans in Georgia who were planning to cast electoral college votes for former President Trump, to conduct the plan in complete secrecy. The Washington Post and CNN have reported that the email written by Trump campaign Georgia Operations Director Robert Sinners instructed the fake electors to tell security at the state capitol that they had appointments with 2 state senators.
Sinners, how appropriate.
Just when you thought the muck couldn't get any deeper.
I must ask you for your complete discretion in this process, Sinners wrote.
Does anybody really write anymore?
Sinners continued with, your duties are imperative to ensure the end result, a win in Georgia for President Trump, but will be hampered unless we can have complete secrecy and discretion. The Post reported that the email was sent on December 13th, 2020, and instructed the electors not to mention anything to do with presidential electors or speak to the media. Sinners said in a statement that he was working on behalf of senior campaign officials and senior Republicans in the state and was advised by attorneys that this was necessary in order to preserve the pending legal challenge.
I only followed orders!
And where have we heard that before?
Moving on, the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol is scheduled to begin hearings this evening, June 9th. We will finally be able to get an in-depth understanding of the what, why, and how of the January 6th insurrection, as well as the roles people played.
This is going to be televised, right? Time to place a bar order.
I'll have a pan-galactic gargle blaster.
A what?
It's the best drink in existence, according to the guide.
The effect of which is like having your brains smashed out with a slice of lemon, wrapped round a large gold brick.
It will get you really drunk.
And what is so bad with being drunk?
Ask a glass of water. Where are these herrings going to be broadcast?
The hearings will be broadcast on C-SPAN, ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, PBS, and the Fox Business Channel, and then streamed on the YouTube channel of the House Select Committee on June 9th, 13th, 15th, 16th, 21st, and 23rd.
But not on Fox News.
Correct. Fox News, who once televised 7 hours of the Benghazi hearings, will not broadcast the January 6th hearing.
I wonder why.
Fox stated they will continue with their regular primetime coverage and talk about the hearings as warranted. In addition, the failed former president's team has communicated to some of its most loyal acolytes on Capitol Hill that Trump wants people to vigorously defend him, push back on the January 6th committee while the public hearings play out. Trump loyalists are expected to flood the airwaves with claims that the Select Committee lacks credibility. The Democrats are out of touch with more pressing concerns such as inflation, crime, border security, and baby formula shortages.
This committee is not about seeking the truth. It is a smear campaign against President Donald Trump, against Republican members of Congress, and against Trump voters across this country. This committee is unconstitutional. It is illegitimate. It was not put together according to the rules of the House. It does not serve any true legislative or oversight purpose. And it is not about finding out why Nancy Pelosi left the Capitol so ill-prepared that day. It is designed to punish Nancy Pelosi's political opponents, and it will not prevent another January 6th from happening, and it does nothing to address the numerous crises Americans are suffering from because of Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi's radical far-left agenda. So while Democrats obsess over this illegitimate hearing, House Republicans will be setting the record straight and telling the truth about lame duck Speaker Nancy Pelosi's sham political witch hunt. And most importantly, we will continue to focus on the important issues that matter facing the American people and how to solve the crises that Joe Biden and House Democrats' far-left agenda have created, from the border crisis to the baby formula shortage to inflation to soaring gas prices.
Yet the work of the Select Committee is already bearing fruit. Former Trump White House official Peter Navaro has been indicted on 2 counts of criminal contempt of Congress after refusing to comply with a subpoena from the House Select Committee. Not to be outdone, Trump fanboy Steve Bannon, you remember Steve Bannon, is set to go to trial next month as well, just like Peter Navarro, for defying a congressional subpoena. Here's the interesting part. Bannon himself has subpoenaed House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and members of the House Select Committee as he builds his defense.
That's ridiculous.
The subpoenas were aimed at all 9 members of the Select Committee, 3 committee staffers, and General Counsel for the House of Representatives, Douglas Letter. Bannon also subpoenaed House Democratic leadership, including Pelosi, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, and Rep. Jim Clyburn. Historically, it's been a challenge to compel members of Congress to testify because their legislative activity is protected under the Constitution's speech and debate clause.
They can't touch them.
So what does that mean?
In this particular case, I'm extremely confident that the staff members and members of the House would be shielded by the speech and debate clause, said Thomas Spulak, who served as general counsel to the House of Representatives in the 90s. The lawmakers and staffers could file a motion to quash the subpoenas on those grounds. I'm very confident that defense would be upheld and they will not be compelled to produce anything or appear for anything, Spulak said.
Like I said, they can't touch them.
So they can't touch them.
What, am I invisible?
Yes. Remember when failed former President Trump told the Proud Boys to stand down and stand by? Well, that just took on a new look.
The U.S. Justice Department charged leaders of the right-wing group the Proud Boys with seditious conspiracy on Monday for their involvement in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The new indictment accuses Enrique Tarrio, the former leader of the group, and 4 of his top lieutenants of plotting to prevent Congress from certifying Democrat Joe Biden's 2020 presidential victory over Donald Trump. Seditious conspiracy is defined as attempting to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force the government of the United States. All 5 defendants have already pleaded not guilty to other criminal charges related to the attack. 3 members of another right-wing group, the Oath Keepers, have already pleaded guilty to seditious conspiracy charges. Its leader, Stuart Rhodes, has pleaded not guilty.
The indictment Monday alleges that the Proud Boys conspired to forcibly oppose the lawful transfer of presidential power.
The far-right Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, and 4 associates have been charged with seditious conspiracy for their alleged role in the attack on the Capitol. Dominic Pizzola, who is allegedly seen breaking a Capitol window with a police shield, is among those named in the new indictment. This is only the second time a group tied to January 6th faces the rare and very serious charge of conspiring to block the execution of U.S. law or overthrow the U.S. government.
And now for some good news. Total greenhouse gas emissions in the European Union reached their lowest level since 1990, according to the United Nations European Environmental Agency.
I thought I was breathing easier.
He said Europe, not the U.S.
Oh.
Overall reduction in 2020 greenhouse gas emissions was 34% compared to the 1990 base year, or 1.94 billion tons CO2. Key drivers that led to emission reductions over the past 3 decades include the growing use of renewables, the use of less carbon-intensive fossil fuels, and improvements in our energy efficiency.
So our air is as bad as ever.
Unfortunately.
Finally, by the time of this broadcast, there will undoubtedly have been more mass shootings in this country.
Arthur, sorry to interrupt. There is an active case going on right now in Smithburg, Maryland. Several people down, details to follow.
So many we can hardly keep up anymore. But shortly, all of us will have the most powerful weapon in this country in our hands.
The vote.
Time to step up, people.
We here at BFPN encourage you to use that weapon to stop this madness.
We can do this.
It's way past time.
Way past time. This has been But Frankly Pierce News. Thanks for watching. I'm Arthur Fairview. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Not bad for a man in his gym jams. Very Arthur Dent. Now, there was a nice man.
Yeah.